Here's a question I get all the time. How does seller financing work in real estate? In this video, we're going to talk about and break down actually what seller financing is. And then I have a golden nugget of advice for you. And then we're going to go over the different types of seller financing. And make sure you stay till the end because I have a free gift for you. Seller financing is one thing that I love to take advantage of. I ask for it all the time. Essentially what seller financing is think about the seller now being your lender. They're basically the mortgage company, or they are the mortgage company. They're acting as the lien holder on the property you're buying. I love using this, especially today with commercial real estate. So typically with seller financing, it's just like a traditional mortgage. The beautiful part about it is there's a lot less paperwork involved. You don't have to jump through all the hoops that you do with a traditional lender. So how the structure works is just like a traditional lender, like we said. You're going to bring to the deal a down payment of some sort. All these things are negotiable that I'm going to be talking about. And those are things like down payment, interest rate. Typically there's a balloon payment or a payment due in the future of some sort. I like to negotiate and have a 5-year balloon payment with no prepayment penalty, meaning I could pay that loan off at any time. There's also a promissory note, that a promise to pay that you'll be filling out, signing, and that will be recorded with the property. That promissory note, again, has the interest rate, all the terms and conditions in that deal. Typically, payments are made to a loan servicing company. That loan servicing company then pays the seller directly. So this, like I said, is no different than any other typical mortgage. This is actually recorded, and you are the registered owner of the property. They are then the registered lender on the property. Sometimes you could get much longer terms. Sometimes you're going to get short terms. It just depends on the asset and what you're trying to do. I've had as short as 1-year loans and as long as 10 years. It just depends. When I negotiate seller financing, I also do interest only to bring my pricing down or payment as low as possible. I typically am using that seller financing to reposition that asset, meaning it probably needs a lot of work if I'm doing a fix and flip, or maybe it's a commercial asset that needs or has a lot of deferred maintenance and I need to go through and do some heavy lifting. In commercial real estate especially, you'll find more seller financing than in residential. And the reason being, in residential, they're looking at your personal credit and personal income to buy that asset. In commercial, they look at that commercial asset and look at the income it's producing and underwrite it based on that. A lot of times when negotiating really good deals, commercial properties are underperforming and need somebody to come in and do some lifting. That's where I come in. That's some of the stuff that I like to specialize in, is the stuff that has deferred maintenance. Maybe the tenants are low. So unless someone's coming in paying cash, that seller's almost forced to do some sort of seller financing. Here's a golden nugget that I love about seller financing. You get a second opportunity to negotiate that deal. Let me explain. Oftentimes I'll do a 5-year note or balloon payment, but in year 2 or 3, I will go to them and try to negotiate a lower payoff and refinance that property. In doing so, get them to take a reduction for early payoff. This is a chance for you to get a second opportunity to renegotiate the price. I'll give you a couple of examples. I've had a lot of seller financing. With having seller financing, when I go to pay off, the lender, that individual or that couple, let's just say hypothetically I owe them $400,000. Maybe I offer them $350,000 and tell them that's what I have, or that's what I'm able to pay them now if they would accept an early payoff. Maybe they say no. Maybe they negotiate with me. Maybe we end up about $380,000, whatever the number is. I just saved that much money on the property that I already owned. What other lender is going to give you an opportunity to take a haircut on something that you're getting interest payments from? Nobody. So before I get to the types of seller financing, if you like this information, subscribe by clicking the button below, and we'll get you content like this daily. There's different ways that you could obtain seller financing. Someone could own the property free and clear, and then you give them a down payment and they're holding the balance as a note. They could also have a mortgage on the property currently, where you could overlap or have a mortgage on top of it. In that case, I recommend highly having a servicing company go through, pay the mortgage company, okay, that the original mortgage is with, and then whatever balance or leftover is going to the seller. Sometimes this could come in the form of a lease option. A lease option is a very common way to get seller financing. It's essentially the same thing. It's a lease with an option to buy. And what typically determines the lease option is a future purchase price that you could buy it at, and some sort of consideration of your monthly payments going towards the reduction or the purchase price of the property. One of the nice things about this is it's a lower point of entry, and if the market trends the wrong way, you could walk away from the property. Here's the upside though. If the market goes the other way, you could exercise that option and sell the property and keep those profits. You could also assume the mortgages. That means you need to contact the mortgage company and you can assume those mortgages. This is probably the most time-consuming way to do it. I prefer the lease option. I prefer just doing a wrap over their current mortgage with a future payoff date than this method. The reason why is it's less paperwork, it's streamlined, and it's much easier. Saves you time, energy, and effort, especially if you're trying to flip the property. If you're repositioning it for long-term cash flow, once you reposition it, you're then able to refinance it because that property's income could support the mortgage. So if you obtain seller financing and let's say there's a mortgage currently on it and you're basically wrapping it, the nice thing is once you've stabilized that asset, meaning it's now cash flowing, there's income coming in, what you could do is refinance that property, pay off that lender, and typically recoup a lot, if not all of your costs that you've put into the property and redeploy it back out on another asset. So I have a free gift for you for following this far. Look, 100 ways to find off-market deals. All you have to do is click on the link below and it's yours for free.